Steve here, Off-Road Grind, Bentley Custom Offroad, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install one of my custom ladders that goes on the back of your 4Runner. So this is my ladder, and I'm just boxing up another ladder here for somebody to send off to them. And what I want to do is go through the process of installing the ladder, so when you get it, it's so easy to do, and you don't have to really think too much about it. I've already got it all measured off. I'm going to show you that. If you just install it the way it comes, and the instructions here, and I'll send them in an email as well, then it's just going to fit in. It's going to be vertical. You can tweak it a little bit, but you shouldn't have to. So first thing we want to do is I'm going to turn this around. We want to take the rear panel off the 4Runner so you can get access to the bottom, because I like to bolt the ladder in from the bottom instead of using set screws, and it's really simple. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, to get the rear panel off, we're going to open the rear door, locate the grab strap here. There's a little trap door, and it's early in the morning right now, so sorry about the lighting. But we're going to locate this little trap door here with the handle. We're going to pop that open with a screwdriver. There's a 10mm bolt in there, and then we're going to pry this whole panel off the back of the truck. Actually, don't have to take it right off, so you can leave it attached up at the window there, but we're going to pull it off the rest of the way. So I'm gonna do that and show you how. So I usually just get a slot screwdriver here, pull that little panel out, and then there's a 10mm bolt in there. You can use an extension or whatever. It's not in tight. It's just to hold the strap in place. You needed to reach up and grab that strap to pull the door down to get it started. Although if I lift this truck anymore, I'm going to need it. Okay, and that now allows this back panel to come off. Now I use a little trim prying tool here. You can see that. It's just a piece of plastic, but you can use, it's better to use this. It's not going to scratch the paint around the door. But if you have a screwdriver, that works fine. You just want to get it started, so you go pretty tight, so you're just looking for a spot to get in there, create a little bit of a gap. And there's all these little clips up there that you're just going to pop. You'll just hear them pop. As I mentioned, you don't want to do it at the window here. It's a little tricky to get back in, so if you can just pull this whole panel down the rest of the way without pulling it off the top there, that's ideal. I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. Now, there should be a piece of plastic. I think it's more of an amber colored. I didn't have that in mind when I first opened this up, so I just grabbed some plastic, and it just keeps the gearing and such clean, and stops any water from getting through this area of the door that might run down through the window back into the panel part of the car or inside your vehicle. So you're gonna have to peel that back, because we're gonna reach up in here, up in this section underneath the latch, and we're gonna reach up across to this area here in order to access these bolt holes. So this one already exists, and you're going to drill this one here. Okay, so you're going to reach up in through here to access that, and then you're going to drill a hole there, but I'm going to show you that step in another part of the video. Right now I'm just taking off mine bottom bracket here in order to show you how to access that. So anyways, that's the bottom panel. And what you want to do is you're going to need to access this little plug here. There's an example of one. Right? Just that little pyramid-y thing. And there's one right here to the left of the hatch. mechanism right there. You're gonna pop that out because you're gonna use that hole to bolt the lower bracket into the door. And then you're gonna drill another one here. Okay, you're gonna drill another hole. So I'm gonna put that bracket in, show you how that goes. And this is 13 millimeter bolts and nylon lock nuts, and they're all stainless steel, and they're gonna bolt right up into the bottom of this door and really secure that lower bracket. I have tape, very high bond 3M tape on the top bracket. You won't need it for the bottom one. This bolt is just gonna crank it right in there, and I just find that the tape on the bottom doesn't do much. So your bracket, this is the lower bracket. You can tell it's got that little funky thing that's going to fit up underneath the lip of the lower door. And I'm going to attach all the bolts and nuts onto this bracket. So they're just hand tightened, but you're going to take these 13 millimeter bolts off from the bottom because you're going to fit in the nut and the washer on the back side and put it onto the bolt. We're going to go up and through the first hole there. Don't worry about that second hole just yet. We're going to go through the second. We're going to go. I've already had this rack on my truck. I just took it off to show you how to install this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these nuts that were on the bottom here and the washer. And we're going to put it up inside the door. And you need to have your window up. If your window is down, you won't be able to access this hole from the inside because the glass is going to be in the way. Okay, so you need a 13 millimeter wrench. I use this side here so I can just hook it on, and that's going to grab onto that bolt. Okay, here, let me. It's a little windy here. I'm just going to change microphones and put one on so you can probably hear that. If you do have plastic in here, just peel it off so you can get your arm in there. What you're going to do is you're just going to reach up in here like this, and you're going to be able to access this little hole. You can see my finger sticking through it. Okay, so what I like to do is grab the bracket, put the bolt through it, right? And you remember, you've only got one hole right now. You don't have that second hole. You're going to drill that in a minute, but I want you to put this on first so you know exactly where it goes. Okay, so you're going to put this in. Wrong hole. You want to put this in, and you're just going to slide it right up in there like that and pop it on. And grab your washer. I like to do one at a time so I'm not jacking around too much with too many things in my hand. So I'm going to put the washer on the end of that bolt. Okay. And then I'm going to reach up in here, and I'm just going to hand tighten this 13 millimeter nut. So you've got a 13 millimeter bolt head on the outside, and I'm going to put a 13 millimeter nut on the inside. Okay. Just tighten that as much as you can. So then you're going to reach up with this wrench here, up inside, and on the outside I just have a 13 millimeter socket. That in place. Crack that up in there. Okay, that is nice and tight. Now, so for the other side, what we want to do is we want to drill a hole here. I've already got one, but what you want to do is, once this is in, you're going to press this up here and just mark it with a Sharpie, or what you could do is just actually take the drill bit. I love these step bits. If you have these, this is going to be a 3/8 or a 7/16 inch hole. You can even go as high as 1/2 inch. And you're just going to put this right up in here, and this just goes burn, 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 burns right through. This is, I think, to 7/16 this hole here on the bottom of the bracket. Or what you can do is just take this off. Once you know the exact spot, you're going to drill that in there, and you're going to put that hole right into your bottom panel of your door. it's so simple. It's thin metal. You're going to burn right through it really quickly. Step bits are awesome. If you don't have one of these, just use a drill bit that's the same size as the bottom bracket there. Find one that fits in there and just burn that right into the bottom of your door. Once that's in place, that hole, you're going to come back here, get your second bolt, put that right through there. Same process. Grab your washer, reach up through. This is a little farther over, but still pretty easy to get to. Remember, you got to have the window up, and then get the nut in there. There we go. Let's use a combination of turning it from the inside and turning the bolt from the outside. There we go. Once that's threaded on, and you can feel it threading on, grab your 13mm wrench again and put that over the nut, and again socket. I'm just going to tighten that up. I just find this works so much better than set screws. So much more powerful and strong. So that's on there solid. So I'm going to pop this panel back on. I'll show you actually how to do that. Let's just move this because we are done with the bottom of the door now. So I'm just going to start up at the top. Hopefully you didn't take the top part of your panel off. And you're just going to pop these little clips, these little white clips that are all the way around here. I don't know if you saw those earlier, but just these little white clips. Just going to pop those into those little holes that they have up there. That's it. And then this little handle, here's the 10mm bolt. This handle goes to the front. Let me get a 10mm socket and I'll tighten that up. Doesn't have to be too tight. Get your little cover. Put that in from the back first, and it is done and in place. So we're set. Okay, so we are done in with this back open. Now we can pop the door closed and then go in and work on the top bracket and getting that in place. A little trickier because we've got some tape to deal with and we don't want to mess this up. So here we go. This would be a good time now to actually take off the bolts from the bottom, so we're not realizing, oh, we got to do that with the ladder in the way. So just take them off, put them to the side. So we're going to need them in a minute. And on the top, what we've got here is we've got this top panel that's going to hook over the gap in the top between the door and the roof. And we're going to peel this tape off, but we're going to measure and put a little mark on the roof so you know exactly where to line the left edge of this bracket up on the roof. So I'm going to show you that. This is really important here that you get this step right. I'm comfortable pulling that tape off. I'll put it back on later just to show you what I mean. But this VHB tape, very high bond tape, is super sticky. So do not take that off until you're ready to actually put that down and you're confident of where it's going to go. But as you can see, I've got a ruler lined up here with the edge of the inside edge of the rain gutter. And you're going to measure over 3 inches and put a little mark on the roof. I just put a dot with a Sharpie. When you do that, you're going to line up the left edge of that bracket with that dot. So it's going to be 3 inches inside the rain gutter. Really important to get that right. Now, what I recommend you do also is just put that down without taking the tape off. Attach the ladders to the bolts, make sure you got it vertical. That's probably not a bad idea. The bottom bracket can't move, but the top one can. So if you want to do that, you can do that. But when you're putting it in, put the hooks over the edge of the door there, pull back on both sides, right? So when you're ready to put the sticky down, take that tape cover off, hook it over the edge there, pull it back and then press it down in the spot that you want to, and then you're going to be good to go. But you can totally put that test, like dry fit it before taking the tape off. Okay, one thing I didn't mention, you shouldn't need to do this, but you could check it if you'd like to, is get a level. I have a digital level here, and or you can get a actual torpedo level, and you can just pop these on and make sure that the ladder, before you put that top plate in, because this bottom one can't move because you're drilling it, you're putting it into this hole down here, and you're drilling another hole. So that bottom of the ladder is not going to shift, but you can shift the top to get things level. So we're at 89.9 degrees here. Keep in mind, if your truck is actually at an angle, you want to change the way you look at that. My truck's level at the back, so I'm going to keep this as level as possible. Optional step, if you want, off the roof with a little bit of acetone. Just put it on a rag. Just wipe that down. Clean off the surface that you're going to be putting your panel down onto. And that'll get a little cleaner for you. Once you've got your tape off, again, you're just going to mark that down. Back is up, front is down, those hooks are in, you're pulling back, and you're just going to lay this down onto the roof. And you'll notice the back edge of the bracket doesn't really sit down on the roof. It's up a couple, like 1/16 of an inch or so. This is why I've just got the tape on the front. You can just press that down. It is basically designed to just stop the bracket from moving forward, but once that ladder is on there, it's not going forward because you're pulling the ladder down to get it onto the bottom bolts, as you're going to see in a second. And the audio crapped out on this section as well, but I'm just going to grab the ladder now and start to fit it into place. I'm going to put the top of the ladder on those bolts, and then I'm just going to rest the bottom part of the ladder on the bottom bracket bolts for now, and I'm going to, next clip, show you how to fit those on. We're going to have to pull them into place. My ladder here sits a lot tighter to the door than most people's because I've got a swing out here on the left. I needed this to be a little closer. Yours is going to come back out probably to here. But so the bolt's a little lower than the hole. I made it that way, so we've got to pull down on this to get it to go onto the bolts. Okay, so I'm just going to pull a little farther back here. I'm just going to grab these rungs here, okay, and pull down until that snaps into place. And you can see now that the bolts are in here, and we can take these 17 millimeter nylon stainless steel nuts, and we can pop those on now, and we can go back up to the roof as well and do the same thing with those top nuts. Okay, so let's get those top ones on first. We'll come back down for the bottom ones. And up at the top here, we're just going to put these 17 millimeter stainless steel nylon lock nuts onto the two bolt posts here. I typically will put some primer and enamel paint on those bolts when I weld them up from the bottom onto the top bracket. Quite often changes the corrosion protection ability of the stainless steel or zinc oxide that I'm using on those. So there'll probably be a little bit of paint on there, but you can crank that nylon nut down over top of that pretty easily. So you don't have to rip it so hard, but you'll get it pretty firm, as you can see I'm doing here. And once that's tight on each side, then you are done at the top. And then once you've done that, then you can go down here, and we're going to pop these bottom bolts in, probably open up the back hatch. And again, we're just going to crank these down. Come back to that right one in a second. And we are all done with the install on your ladder. There we go. So, all set. As I mentioned, mine sits really tight to the back because I've got the swing out here that I want to be able to close in on front of it. But yours is probably going to come out a little bit farther depending on how we designed it. But that's how your ladder goes together. We've got a nice strong, like I can shake the whole truck with this ladder. It's not going anywhere. Let's see, where are we? There we go. It is solid, it's not popping off the bottom. It is exactly how I want a ladder to work. If you go with the set screws at the bottom here, you put any kind of serious weight on here, you're just going to rip them off the bottom pinch weld there. So hopefully that was useful information. If you have any questions and you're putting this on your truck, let me know. Happy to help guide you through the process, but it is pretty straightforward. There's steps that you need to follow, but it's really not rocket science. And so useful for getting up onto the roof of your truck when you're throwing things up there, and it looks awesome. Have a great day.